tapes can explain the hangars on your right here. It's where they repair the shuttles when they come back from space. On the right here, these tan hangars. Shuttle lands on the left. Up here is the landing strip. Folks, see the shuttle going out to the pad way out to your right?
We have 4 orbiters that we launch here at Kennedy Space Center: Columbia, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour.
The orbiter processing facility was built specifically for the space shuttle program. There are 3 identical high bays. Each bay can handle 1 orbiter.
Now, if we could just roll up the side of that building, you'd see a honeycomb of work platforms
See the shuttle
stacked 5 stories high. You wouldn't see a whole lot of the orbiters.
How do you organize so many tasks?
The whole process is tightly organized to test every element of every system.
And an orbiter has a very complicated meshing of systems. For instance, there are electrical, mechanical, and structural systems, flight computers, fluid systems, and many more. And they all have to work together flawlessly.
Sally, as an astronaut, you know better than anyone that we have to perform our work perfectly. We have to protect all.
That's because when you're weightless, you don't just use floor space. You can float near the ceiling and sit on the walls.
I'll remember that next time I'm in there.
You know, Al, the ground crew's commitment to work with such precision makes the space program possible. It allows us to launch and return safely. After all, there are no second chances in space.
Thanks, Sally. We usually spend 60 to 90 days working on our orbiter here before we're absolutely satisfied that everything's right.
You see the shuttles going out to the pad off to the right here, folks. Listen, after you visit this building, then you're going to go out by the ocean, and you'll get a nice view of the shuttle.
When from this very spot, man took off to fly to the moon. It was a journey that began 12 years before that rocket ever left the ground. And it started on the other side of the world. Back then, we were one of 2 superpowers that always seemed to be on the edge of a terrible war. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first ever man-made satellite into Earth orbit. They called it Sputnik, which means traveling companion. And in a world where peace hung in a delicate balance, it seemed to create a dangerous advantage. Every ham radio operator in America could hear it beeping. People were afraid. Were the Soviets looking down on us? Watching us? If they could make us our own satellite, Explorer 1. Space race, and we were running distant second. In 1961, we fell even further behind. Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first man into space, circling the world in just 89 minutes. We had our own astronauts, and they were eager and ready to take the big ride. But our manned space program couldn't seem to get off the ground. We stuck with it, and on May 5th, 1961, things finally started going right. Astronaut Alan Shepard took his ship Freedom 7 6.5 miles into space. America had its first space hero. Just a few days later, our space program received a new challenge. But this one did not come from the Soviet Union. It came from our young president. In one inspiring moment, he changed the mission. From one based in fear of the present to one of hope for the future.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
Miles away. Many people thought it was an impossible dream, but 400,000 of us set about making that dream a reality. It would be the longest, most hazardous voyage that any man had dared to attempt. But step by step, mission by mission, we orbited the Earth, perfecting the skills and technologies we would need on this incredible journey. Our astronauts practiced maneuvering, docking, and the 1,000 other tasks that would comprise the moon mission. We created new alloys, lighter and stronger than anything seen before. We designed communication systems that would be reliable over the vast distances. And behind it all, we tried to perfect the rocket that would be powerful enough to punch out of Earth orbit and take us to the moon. It was a few days before Christmas 1968 when Apollo 8 sat on the pad. She was the first of a new kind, a moon rocket. This was the Phoenix, risen from the ashes of Apollo 1. The first Apollo crew did not die in vain. This was to be their testament. "36 stories high, she had been fully fueled throughout the night. The liquid oxygen in her tanks caused ice to form on the outside of the craft. The extreme temperature differences between the air and the sub-zero fuel caused the metal skin of the rocket to expand and contract. Everyone who was on the pad agreed. It was as though the rocket was alive, breathing, straining at the leash. Earlier in the morning, astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders had made their final preparations before taking that long ride out to the space orbit. Saturn V and liftoff was 3 miles. The reason was simple. When fully fueled, the rocket contained the explosive power of an atomic bomb. As the clock counted down, the astronauts and all of us in launch control went through the pre-flight checks, our hands on the controls of the most powerful, most complex machine ever built. It had over 2 million separate systems, and to bring these men back alive, everything had to work perfectly. Each individual system had been tested, but what we didn't know was how they would perform when all 2 million began to work together. That moment would come when the countdown clock reached 0. If a maneuvering thruster failed, if communications broke down, if navigation was off by 1 degree, if any piece of the miles of wiring, circuits, relays, or valves was defective, Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders would pay with their lives. As they sat, waiting for launch on that chill December morning, these 3 astronauts were back to what they had always been, test pilots. You are now in the final minutes before the launch of Apollo 8, right here where it actually happened. Mankind is about to leave his planet behind and journey to another. It is one of those rare moments when history is not being made, destiny is being embraced.
PSS, verify go for launch. PSC, verify go for launch. PSC, verify go for launch. SRO, verify go for launch. Element, verify go for launch. Kilo, verify go for launch. City test now. Test on personnel. Countdown
communications checks with the Apollo 8 astronauts in the cabin, and the communications are go. During this period, once we do get the firing command, the various tanks within the 3 stages of the Saturn V launch vehicle begin to pressurize. We have firing command. The firing command is in. We're now on the automatic sequence. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Our status board indicates that all aspects are ready. Instrument unit is ready. Spacecraft ready. Final check of the emergency detection system. That ready light also on. First stage preparations are completed.
All systems are A-OK.
Okay, keep going.
We're on. Ready to go to Crown Bank.
Stand by, Walter. Okay, you're on.
All systems go. T-minus
45 seconds incoming. First stage air oxygen tank has been pressurized, and the pressure is still building up. Coming up on 90 seconds, mark T-minus 90 seconds incoming. Apollo 8 crew standing by, spacecraft commander Frank Warren, Jim Moore, Bill Anders. Now we report that the liquid hydrogen tank in the third stage is pressurized. 1 minute 15 seconds. All third stage propellants pressurized at this time as we come up on the 60-second mark on our flight to the moon. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. The vehicle now is completely pressurized. Power transfer shortly. We have the power transfer. We're now on the flight batteries within the launch vehicle. Final reports from Frank Borman at this time. Final look at the switch list aboard the spacecraft. 20 seconds on express. We are still rolled at this time. 10,
not ride by the other launch pad. For your own safety and security. If you have children with you, please keep them inside the fenced area. Up on top of this hill, the white units contain tracking cameras. The sandbag structure up there, you'll see it. You can disregard it, doesn't have much use. Now, we'll be here about 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you for visiting our beautiful state of Florida, and a very special thank you for taking the time to visit the Kennedy Space Center. Please take this opportunity to check around your seating area. Make sure you have all your stuff. Don't leave anything on the bus. Take everything with you. And we'll come back and see us again. Please.